In the far edges of the galaxy, there was a story that every species had heard, but no one truly believed. They called it the human myth. It was an old story, passed from one generation to another. Some said humans were creators of war. Others said they were protectors of balance. But most believed one simple thing. Humans did not exist anymore. Inside a massive space station, known as the Central Council, leaders from many alien races had gathered. The room was filled with strange shapes, glowing eyes, and quiet whispers. In the center, a tall figure spoke in a calm but firm voice. "Humans are nothing more than a myth," the council leader said. "There is no proof they ever existed." Many nodded in agreement. "They are just stories used to scare young pilots," another added. But not everyone agreed. A young officer stood silently at the back of the room. His name was Kale. He had studied old records, broken data logs, and forgotten signals. He had seen things others ignored. He stepped forward. "There are signals," Kale said carefully. "Old, but not dead. Something is still out there." The room became quiet for a moment. Then, laughter. "Signals?" one of the elders said. "Space is full of noise." Kale did not move. "These signals are different," he replied. "They repeat. They follow patterns. And they come from a region marked as restricted." That word changed everything. Restricted space was not common. It meant danger. It meant something powerful once existed there, or still did. The council leader narrowed his eyes. "And you think this is connected to humans?" Kale took a breath. "Yes." Silence filled the room again. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the leader gave a small nod. "Very well. We will send a scout ship. A small mission. Just to prove this is nothing." Some agreed. Some did not. But the decision was made. Hours later, a scout ship moved quietly through deep space. The crew inside was trained, calm, and confident. To them, this was just another mission. Nothing more. Entering the outer zone, the pilot said. Everything looked normal. Stars, darkness, silence. Then something changed. "Wait," the sensor officer whispered. "I'm losing signal." The captain turned. "What do you mean?" "Systems are slowing down. I don't know why." Lights inside the ship flickered. The air felt heavier. "Check everything," the captain ordered. "We are," the officer said, now nervous. "But nothing is responding properly." Then. All sound stopped. No signal. No data. No communication. Just silence. And then, the scanner blinked once. A shape appeared. Huge. Unmoving. Dark. It was not there before. The crew stared at the screen. "What is that?" someone whispered. The object was massive. Bigger than anything they had ever seen. It did not send signals. It did not move. But it was there. Watching. The captain tried to speak, but his voice felt weak. "Scan it again." "We can't," the officer said. "Sensors are not working." The ship slowly drifted closer. Too close. The darkness around them felt alive now. And then. A single light appeared on the massive object. Just one. Cold. White. Silent. The crew froze. And in that moment, every story they had laughed at, every myth they had ignored, started to feel real. They said humans were gone, Kale's voice echoed from the past logs. But now. Something had been waiting. And it had just been found. The scout ship did not move. No one gave the order. No one needed to. Every eye inside the ship was locked on the massive shape outside. That single white light was still glowing, cold and steady. It did not blink. It did not fade. It was watching them. Distance, the captain asked, trying to stay calm. Too close, the pilot said quietly. We are drifting toward it. Engines. No response. A soft sound came from the control panel, like a heartbeat. Slow. Deep. Not mechanical. Not normal. The crew exchanged looks. This is not natural, one of them whispered. The captain stepped forward. Try to send a signal. Anything. Identify ourselves. The communication officer nodded and pressed the controls. The system struggled, flickering, then finally pushed out a weak transmission. This is Scout Vessel Archon 7, the officer said. We come in peace. Identify yourself. Silence. Nothing came back. Only that light. Seconds passed. Then a minute. Then. A sound. Not from their speakers. Not from outside. It came from everywhere. Deep. Heavy. Like a voice that did not need air. You are not authorized to be here. The crew froze. The voice was slow. Cold. Not angry, but not kind either. Did you hear that? The pilot whispered. The captain swallowed. Yes. The voice had no clear source. It was inside their heads, but also inside the ship. The communication officer tried again, his hands shaking slightly. We did not know this space was active, he said. We will leave immediately. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the light on the massive ship grew brighter. The temperature inside the scout ship dropped. Captain, one of the crew said. Something is changing. The large object outside, it was not just a ship. Parts of it were moving. Slowly. Like something waking up after a long sleep. Panels shifted. Lines of faint light appeared across its surface. The captain stared. This is a warship, he said quietly. But it was unlike any warship they had ever seen. No weapons were visible. No engines. No clear design. It looked ancient. And powerful. The voice returned. You entered restricted space. This time, the tone was different. Sharper. More aware. The captain took a step forward. We will leave now, he said. We mean no harm. A pause. Then. You have already caused harm. Confusion spread across the crew. We have not attacked, the captain said quickly. We did nothing. Silence again. Then the answer came. You woke us. The lights on the giant ship spread further. More systems coming online. The darkness around it began to shift, like space itself was reacting. The pilot's hands tightened on the controls. Captain, we need to go. Now. I know, he said. Engines still not responding. The ship trembled slightly. Something invisible was holding them. The captain looked at the massive warship again. Who are you? He asked. For a moment, there was no answer. Then the voice spoke again. Clear. Stronger. We are, the last signal. The crew did not understand. The captain frowned. Last signal of what? A long pause followed. Then. Humanity. The word hit them like a shockwave. No one spoke. No one moved. Humans. The myth. The story. The thing they all believed was gone. Was standing right in front of them. Alive. Watching. Waiting. The captain felt his heartbeat rise. This is not possible, one crew member whispered. But it was. The massive warship shifted again. More lights turned on. Now it was no longer hiding in darkness. Now it wanted to be seen. And what they saw terrified them. The surface of the ship was covered in marks. Scars. Damage. Old, but not forgotten. This ship had seen war. A lot of it. The voice spoke one more time. You are not prepared. Suddenly. The scout ship system shut down completely. No lights. No control. Nothing. Total darkness. Only one thing still worked. The front screen. And on it. That giant human warship. Now fully awake. And moving. The scout ship drifted like a dead object in space. No engines. No control. No sound. Only the screen was alive, showing the massive human warship slowly turning toward them. Inside the ship, no one spoke. Fear had taken over. Captain, the pilot whispered, we are completely offline. The captain nodded slowly. He already knew. This was no normal enemy. This was something else. Something far beyond them. Try anything, he said. Manual override, backup systems, anything. We tried, the engineer replied. Nothing responds. It's like, the ship does not belong to us anymore. The captain clenched his fists. Outside, the human warship moved closer. It did not rush. It did not attack. It moved slowly, like it had all the time in the universe. And that made it even more terrifying. Suddenly. A soft pulse spread through space. It was not visible, but they felt it. Like a wave passing through their bodies. The screen flickered. Then. For a second, everything turned white. And then normal again. What was that? One of them asked, breathing fast. I don't know, the captain said. But he could feel it. That was not an attack. That was control. At the same time, far away from them, multiple alien ships were arriving. The Council had sent a fleet. Large warships. Heavy weapons. Full power. They had been watching the scout ship signal, until it suddenly stopped. Now they were here. Fleet command to scout vessel, a voice echoed through open channels. Report your status. But the scout ship could not reply. They were still silent. Still frozen. The fleet commander saw the situation instantly. One small ship, disabled. One massive unknown object, standing still. Target locked, one of the fleet officers said. Awaiting orders. The commander studied the giant warship. No movement. No weapons active, he said. Strange. Then he made a decision. Send warning signal. A strong transmission moved through space. This is Council fleet. Identify yourself or prepare to be fired upon. Silence. The human warship did not react. No answer. No movement. Commander, the officer said, it is ignoring us. The commander's eyes narrowed. Charge weapons. Energy began to build across the alien fleet. Cannons glowing. Systems ready. They believed in power. They believed in numbers. They believed this was enough. Inside the scout ship, the crew watched everything. They are going to attack, someone whispered. The captain felt a deep fear. No, he said quietly. They should not do that. But it was too late. Fire. A bright wave of energy shot toward the human warship. Fast. Powerful. Deadly. It should have destroyed anything in its path. But then. Something impossible happened. The human warship did not move. It did not block. It did not dodge. Instead, the energy disappeared. Gone. Like it never existed. The fleet went silent. What just happened? One officer asked. Before anyone could answer, the human ship responded. Not with weapons. Not with attack. Just a single pulse. A quiet, invisible wave. It spread out from the ship, touching everything. The scout ship. The fleet. All systems. And in that moment, every alien ship shut down. Weapons, off. Engines, dead. Screens, dark. Total silence across the battlefield. No explosions. No damage. Just complete control. Inside the fleet command ship, panic began to rise. We lost everything. No power. Systems not responding. The commander stood frozen. This was not war. This was something else. Something far more advanced. This is not a fight, he whispered. This is a demonstration. Back in the scout ship, the crew sat in darkness. The captain looked at the screen. The human warship was still there. Calm. Unmoving. Untouched. Then the voice returned. Stronger now. Clear. You rely on force. A pause. But you do not understand it. The captain felt his breath slow. This voice, it was not angry. It was disappointed. You built weapons, without purpose. The lights on the human warship grew brighter. More systems activating. More power waking up. And still, it had not attacked. You are not ready. The words echoed through every ship. Every mind. No one argued. No one resisted. Because deep down, they all knew it was true. And for the first time, the galaxy understood something terrifying. Humans were never a myth. They were something far worse. They were the limit. And no one had reached it. The silence across the fleet felt heavier than any attack. No explosions. No fire. No destruction. Just stillness. Every ship remained frozen in space, powerless. Lights flickered weakly, systems refused to respond, and the vast emptiness of space felt controlled. Like it belonged to something else. Inside the command ship, the fleet commander stood still, staring at the human warship. What are we facing? One officer whispered. No one had an answer. Then, the darkness shifted. The human warship began to change again. Lines of light moved across its surface. Patterns formed. Not random, but intentional. Like a message being prepared. Commander, the communication officer said softly, we are receiving something. Audio? The commander asked. No, visual. The main screen suddenly came alive. At first, it showed nothing but static. Then shapes appeared. Old. Broken. Glitching. But slowly, the image became clear. It was a recording. A voice began to speak. Not the cold voice they heard before. This one was different. Warmer. Human. We were not always alone. The fleet watched in silence. Images changed. They saw ancient star systems, alive with activity. Many species. Many worlds. All connected. Long ago, we stood together. The voice continued. We explored. We learned. We protected each other. The alien officers exchanged confused looks. This is history, one asked. The commander said nothing. He kept watching. The images shifted again. Now, war. Ships burning. Planets breaking. Entire systems collapsing. And then, fear was born. The human voice became slower. Some believed power should belong to one. Scenes showed alien fleets turning against others. Alliances breaking. Chaos spreading. They chose control, instead of trust. The commander's expression changed. This was not just a story. This felt real. Then, a new image appeared. Human ships. Different from the one in front of them. Smaller. But strong. They stood between fighting fleets. They called us destroyers. The voice paused. But we were protectors. The images showed human ships stopping wars. Ending battles. Holding lines. Saving worlds. They feared us, because we could end wars. The room grew quiet. No one moved. Then the images turned darker. Very dark. Then one day, they turned on us. The tone changed. Cold. Heavy. Alien fleets, attacking human ships. Many against few. Betrayal. They said we had too much power. Human worlds, burning. Stations, destroyed. Silence, after chaos. So they tried to erase us. The recording flickered. Broken data appeared. Then. Stillness. We did not fight back. Shock spread across the alien ships. They didn't fight, an officer whispered. The commander slowly shook his head. Why would they not fight? The answer came. We chose to disappear. The screen showed something new. Massive human warships, hiding in deep space. Waiting. Watching. We left the galaxy to decide its own fate. The voice softened again. But we stayed, just in case. The final image showed one ship. The same ship. The one in front of them. Alone. Silent. Watching everything. For centuries, we waited. The recording began to fade. To see if you would learn. Silence returned. The screen went dark. No one spoke. No one moved. The truth was clear now. Humans were not gone. They were watching. Waiting. Judging. The commander felt something he had never felt before. Not fear. Not anger. Something deeper. Regret. The voice returned again. The cold one. The present one. You repeated the same patterns. A pause. You chose power, over peace. The human warship glowed brighter. Energy building, but still controlled. We have observed long enough. Inside every ship, every being felt it. This was it. A decision was coming. The captain of the scout ship looked at the screen, his voice barely a whisper. They are not here to fight. He swallowed. They are here to decide. And in that moment, the entire galaxy realized something terrifying. They were not facing an enemy. They were facing judgment. The silence did not break. It deepened. Across the frozen fleet, no system responded. No engine moved. No weapon charged. Every ship remained trapped in stillness, held by a power they could not understand. And in the center of it all, the human warship waited. No attack. No warning. Just presence. Inside the command ship, the commander stood with his eyes fixed on the screen. His crew looked to him for orders, but for the first time in his life, he had none. What do we do? One officer asked, his voice shaking. The commander did not answer right away. Because for the first time, he realized this was not a battle. This was a test. And they were already failing. On the scout ship, Captain Kale stared at the glowing figure of the human warship. His mind raced through everything he had studied, everything he had believed. They were protectors, he whispered. The crew looked at him. What? The pilot asked. They didn't destroy the galaxy, Kale said slowly. They protected it, until we turned on them. No one argued. Because now, it made sense. The voice returned. Cold. Clear. Final. Final evaluation in progress. A low hum spread through space. Not loud, but deep. It could be felt inside their bones. Like something ancient was waking completely. On the command ship, warning lights flickered for a second, then died again. Commander, the officer said quietly. Energy levels around that ship are rising. How much? He asked. The officer swallowed. Beyond anything we have ever recorded. The commander closed his eyes for a moment. If this was destruction, there would be nothing left. No escape. No fight. No chance. Only an ending. Across all ships, fear spread silently. No one spoke it. But everyone felt it. Then. Kale stepped forward. I am going to open a channel, he said. The crew turned to him. Are you crazy? One of them said. We can't even control the system. I know, Kale replied. But they can. He walked to the dead console. Slowly, he placed his hand on it. Nothing happened. Then. A soft light appeared under his fingers. The system turned on. Not by them. By the human warship. The channel opened. The entire fleet heard it. Kale took a breath. His voice was calm, but real. We understand now, he said. Silence followed. Then the voice answered. You understand failure. Kale shook his head slightly. No, we understand our mistake. A pause. The human warship did not respond immediately. Kale continued. You gave the galaxy peace. You stopped wars. You protected everyone, even those who feared you. He looked at the screen. And we repaid you with betrayal. No one interrupted. No one stopped him. Because no one else had the courage to speak. We became what we feared, Kale said. His voice was steady now. But we can change. The commander on the main ship watched closely. This was their only chance. Not power. Not weapons. Just truth. Kale spoke again. If you destroy us, the cycle ends. A pause. But if you give us one more chance, maybe the cycle can finally break. Silence. Long. Heavy. Unmoving. The glow of the human warship reached its peak. Energy surrounded it like a storm ready to fall. Every ship waited. Every life held still. Then. The energy stopped rising. The hum faded. The light softened. Across the fleet. Systems slowly came back online. Engines, alive. Screens, active. Weapons, still locked. But working. The commander opened his eyes in shock. They stopped. On the scout ship, Kale did not move. He waited. The voice returned one last time. Calm. Different. For the first time. A pause. You chose honesty over fear. The massive warship began to turn away. Slowly. Leaving. We will continue to observe. The stars behind it stretched as space shifted. And then. It was gone. No explosion. No trace. Just silence. But this silence was different. It was not fear anymore. It was relief. The commander looked at his crew. No one cheered. No one spoke. Because they all understood. They had not won. They had been spared. Kale sat down slowly. His hands still shaking. They are still out there, someone whispered. Kale nodded. Yes. He looked into the empty space where the warship had been. Watching. And far beyond the edges of known space. Something ancient remained awake. Not as a destroyer. Not as a myth. But as a reminder. That humanity did not need to conquer the galaxy. To control its future.